Good afternoon, everybody. It's semi-final day. It's Celtic versus Aberdeen at Hampden. My name is Ryan McGinley. Today I'm delighted, as always, to be joined by Tony Haggerty. Tony, how are you doing?
Very well, Ryan, yourself. We're in the bowels of Hampden Media Room, indeed. So we're at the mercy of others making noise as well. So bear with us.
Yeah, it went really quiet there. All of a sudden, I felt like there was a lot of chatting, and we started talking, and everybody's went quiet. Good to have a bit of an audience as well. As you can see, the PDF of the file is to the right of me just now. It's Casper Schmeichel in goals, Alex Baez in the team, Austin Trusty, Cameron Carter-Vickers, and Alistair Johnson. The midfield three of Callum McGregor, Arnott Engels, and Rio Hatate, and the front three of Kyogo Furuhashi, Daisen Maeda on the left, and Nicholas Kuhn on the right. If we bring up the subs, which are Sinisalo, Taylor, Scales, Palma, Ida, Yang, Bernardo, Forrest, and Ralston. Tony, what do you think about that team changes? I think we heard about this team a couple of hours ago. There seems to be a wee bit of a mole somewhere.
Yeah, that's perplexing and very worrying. I think that needs to be addressed because that's the Dundee team's been leaked online, social media platforms, and this team today, which is not ideal. So that someone will need to ask Brendan Rodgers a question at some point about that and see if he's aware of it and certainly make him aware of it. But I think it was the team, I'll big up you, that's the one you predicted, wasn't it?
About 11.
11 at 11, yeah, I get 9 at 11 because I had Scales and Taylor. He's obviously gone with Trusty and Carter-Vickers, which is, I've got to be honest, it was a coin toss for me between the two that we spoke about last night, and I opted for Scales and Taylor, but he's gone for Trusty and Valle, and I've no qualms about that whatsoever. Absolutely none. So yeah, I'm looking forward to today, Ryan. As I said all week on the platform, I think Celtic got their warning shot from Aberdeen in the 2 each game, and I just don't think they'll make that mistake again. And I don't think they'll have a 20-minute spell like they did at Celtic Park.
Don't think they can afford to as well with the way that this Aberdeen team are playing at the moment.
And that's the biggest warning shot of the year. But I'll be interested to see how much Wednesday night took out of Aberdeen. If it took energy sapping, that and a lot of pressure was on Aberdeen to keep it going against Rangers, and they did that. They duly won, but they're riding the crest of a wave. They're coming here with more than hope. There's real optimism, and Celtic have to quash that and quell that. And I think that team for me is good enough to do that.
Yeah, I think the two main talking points are in defence today, because the midfield and attack sort of picks itself, I would say, apart from maybe Rio Hatate. Paulo Bernardo could have been in there, but it's Austin Trusty and Alex Baez that are playing in the centre half and left back positions respectively. I did predict that yesterday. It's the team that I wanted to see, and thankfully that is the case. But I think these two, you see the hierarchy of the Celtic team, the way that the team is made up. Austin Trusty is seen as, I think this is Celtic's biggest game this season so far. I know that the next game is always the biggest game, but this feels like a big game. Chance to go to Hampden, the chance to go to Hampden in the final. They're obviously playing at Hampden today, but Austin Trusty in that back line alongside Cameron Carter-Vickers, he could have put Scales there, but instead he's went for Trusty. So
it's two huge calls, Ryan. Trusty and Valle. He's clearly liked what he's seen with him. As I say, I thought he might have gone with the tried and tested the Scales and Taylor, but he hasn't. He's gone against the grain there, which is fine. I was perfectly happy with either or. So you live or die by these kind of decisions, Ryan. So we will find out in the fullness of time. It's a brave decision by Brendan Rodgers, but clearly the two of them have shown him enough. We've always said he lays a lot of great stock in watching these players at training, and Trusty and Valle have impressed in their recent outings, so they're there on merit. So it's not, I say it's big calls, but they're not massive gambles. So I fully trust Trusty and Valle to do the job today, and I did allude to the fact that Scales is the one that's been caused problems against Aberdeen. The semi-final, Carter-Vickers got caught out very early. Scottish Cup semi-final, and it was Scales that got caught with the two bread and butter crosses into the box. So maybe, and then Scales got caught square for Celtic to score in the 2 each game to give Aberdeen a foothold in that match. So maybe that's went through the manager's mind as well, that Aberdeen are giving Scales problems, which is why he's brought Trusty in. It's interested to see the dynamic there in a big match with Trusty and Cameron Carter-Vickers there. Valle, I'm convinced that he's a footballer and a graduate of La Masia Academy, so he's getting better and better, and he's grown into that Celtic jersey. So I'm happy enough. I've no qualms about it.
See, pair of hands respectively, I think the two of them, and it's a big opportunity for them to really hammer home the fact that they are first choice left back and centre half options now. Brendan Rodgers yesterday was speaking about the fact that he did have a big decision to make at centre back between Scales and Trusty. I think everybody expected Cameron Carter-Vickers, if he was fit, he was going to play the game, but who was going to play alongside him? But he wasn't going to do it on sentiment. He was going to do it in the team that he said felt that was going to be best placed to win the game, and he's went with Trusty. That's big words from Brendan Rodgers, and he's picked the American over the Irishman.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, it's a big call, but he's clearly liking what he's seen, and I think from the Atalanta game onwards, everybody's liked what they've seen from Trusty. He was immense against Atalanta alongside Scales, and I think arguably the bigger risk of those two is Cameron Carter-Vickers, who's only played over an hour against Dundee, and
70 minutes, yeah.
70 minutes, yeah. So I love seeing Carter-Vickers at the back of the pack. You know my thoughts on that. Whenever you see him, you breathe more easily. So, but he's not as match fit as he can be, is he? 70 minutes against Dundee in a run out where you were hardly tested defensively. Before a massive game like this, he'll be tested today. So he'll be up against it as soon as that first whistle goes. Not up against it, but he'll be up against a team that are flying high and they're confident and they're coming here to win. So you'll be tested to the full. But I'm more concerned about the players that Celtic have. I always talk about that front six: Engels, McGregor, Hatate, Maida, Kyogo, Kuhn. There's real pace, there's dynamism, there's creativity there, and there's goals there. Kyogo's got a wonderful record at Hampden, so he gets a nod over Ida for obvious reasons. Kuhn's had an electric start to the season, but Hatate, we want that creative Hatate. But I think you're like me. You trust the captain to go forward as well and have a dig. He's been doing that this season and lots of success from that. I want more from Engels. Absolutely. I want more from Engels. This is Engels staging it. And I'm hoping Engels is one of those guys. He's a big game player. He's turned it on in the Champions League. His first game against Slovan Bratislava. And, so I'm hoping that's this is the kind of stage that Engels thrives on. But I think Celtic supporters want a wee bit more from him, don't they? You're saying he's going to get range. Today's the day to find his range, Ryan, and plank that 25, 30-yard shot into the top corner. It'd be a good day to do that.
I'll take that if that's the case. I'm just having a wee look through the Aberdeen team as well. Duke starts for them as well as Esther Sockler up front. I'll just read out their team in full. So they've got Mitov in goals, defence, Devlin, McKenzie, Shinney in midfield, Nielsen, defensive midfield, Jamie McGrath, who got that assist for Sockler's goal at Celtic Park a couple of weeks ago. Malloy in defence, Rubizic in defence, and Keskinen and out on the wing. So they've got danger men in and around their team. They're here on merit. They deserve to be where they're at. They deserve to be where they're at in the table as well. The Scottish Premiership. What are you expecting today from Aberdeen under Jimmy Tulane?
Same again as they showed at Celtic Park. They wanted to show everybody they were a good team. I think everybody's aware they're a good team. I did like the manager's quote yesterday. He didn't have to watch them against Rangers to know that they were a good team. And he was asked if it reinforced anything about Aberdeen. Aberdeen are joint top of the league with Celtic. Celtic are top on goal difference. They have won 9 out of their 10 football matches. So
only dropped points against Celtic.
So that tells you, and they came from 2-0 down against Celtic to actually take the lead 3-2, and they were a handball away from going 3-2 up. So that tells you all you need to know. And as I said at the start, if Celtic needed any kind of warning, that's your warning there. And the manager's alluded to it as well a couple of times. He's still smarting about drawing that game, Ryan. He said about that game that Celtic should have won that game, and they should have won that game. They had it won, tossed it away again, and then should have won it out of the park because they threw the kitchen sink at Aberdeen. And sometimes what happens, you ride your luck, and you get something. In Glasgow and Aberdeen did that, so you have to give them credit for that. But I expect more of the same today to put Celtic under pressure. But I'm looking at Celtic's players. There's quality in that line-up that can give Aberdeen, food for thought and pressure them. And I think it's Celtic big game attitude and mentality that will win through the end.
If Aberdeen aren't going to keep their unbeaten run, they're going to have to do what no team has been able to do against Brendan Rodgers' Celtic, which is beat them at Hampden. He's got a tremendous record at the National Stadium.
13 out of 13.
13 out of 13. Unlucky for some, lucky for Rodgers. It's a big ask for Aberdeen, but I'm sure they'll think that they themselves are up for the task. Look at their result during the week against Rangers. Maybe not really a surprise, but at the same time, it's a good performance and a good win at home, and it kept their unbeaten run going. Now, But do you think, maybe that's on to my next question, do you think they'll maybe feel the rigours of that game from Wednesday night, because they would have put a lot into that game? Celtic, admittedly, were able to rest a couple of their players and bring players off after 60, 70 minutes.
I think that's what Celtic will certainly be hoping for, Ryan. But see, when you win, you tend not to feel tiredness, you tend not to feel niggles, you tend to just, the games can't come quick enough.
Yeah.
Huge game for Aberdeen. And arguably in all of those 13 semi-finals and cup finals, this is the strongest team Rodgers Celtic team will have played at this stage. I can't think of a stronger team in opposition. Celtic made fairly light work of most of the teams in the semi-final and finals when Rodgers was here the first time.
Yeah, but the only other game that I could maybe look back to is against Hearts at Murrayfield, but they were going into that game really in good form as well. But Aberdeen, they're a different kettle of fish altogether, aren't they?
And I'm not talking about in terms of the scoreline, I'm talking about actual personnel and team that you're coming up against, because I know there's been a couple of close ones, 2-1 and stuff like that. I'm talking about actual personnel and team that you face. This is the strongest team that Brendan Rodgers has faced at Hampden, to my knowledge. Somebody can correct me, but I'm pretty sure, because we've all lived through it. So I just think it's a real test for Celtic to keep that run going today, and I think they will. I think they'll do it pretty handsomely and convincingly. I'll get to my scoreline prediction at the end, but I just think that when push comes to shove, Celtic have that big game edge, and they've got that big game experience because they've been over the course and distance so many times. And you look at somebody like Callum McGregor, who is used to this stage and knows what's required to win at this stage.
Everybody get your score predictions, and I'll try and bring up as many as I can in the live comment section. Before we go on and talk about our own predictions for how this game is going to go, Tony, how big is it having Callum McGregor back in that team? He's been missing the past 2 games with an abductor injury. Yes, that's the right one. I know there's two body parts that sound very similar, but it's abductor. He's back. He did the pre-match press conference yesterday. Is he cutting a confident figure from what you were listening to in the press conference? And how important is he in a game like today, at Hampden? He's used to this. He's had this before. He's been involved for all of Celtic's wins under Brendan Rodgers, really. There's not been any wins with Brendan Rodgers without Callum McGregor. How important is he today?
I think Callum McGregor's a clone of the manager. He just exudes confidence and exudes calmness, and he projects that. And he was asked if it loses its appeal, and he said no, he loves it. I think his record is he hasn't lost a final. Callum McGregor at Hampden Park, and whenever you ask him, he just shakes his head and he doesn't want to jinx that kind of stuff. But he's lost. I think he's lost one semi-final to my knowledge, and that was the Scottish Cup semi-final against Rangers after extra time. I think that's the only time he's lost at the National Stadium.
I'm going through them all there, and I don't think he's been in any other ones. Yeah, I think you're right.
A phenomenal record. And that's somebody who can transmit that experience, Ryan. You cannot buy that. And that will come in handy for somebody like Engels. Hatate's been in a few semi-finals and finals and won them. Kyogo has. But somebody like Kuhn as well. The guys that haven't Valle, just that constant talking and probing and telling guys where to be, what to do, and just coming from somebody so learned, so experienced, and a natural born winner and leader. And you again like Carter, because when you see Callum McGregor's name on the team sheet, you're like, right, cool, and he's getting on and he's getting to the twilight stages of his career, but can he still kick it? You bet your life he can.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to tell you about a Tribe Called Quest there. So I'll get into some of these predictions that people are doing. I'm doing this on a different laptop, guys, so please bear with me while I do this. Brown Warrior comes in. He's always in there. 4-2 to the good guys. I think that means Celtic. Lorraine Agnew says 3-1 to Celtic. GM says 3-1. Time to show Scotland who's number one. Shania Morrison says Celtic to win 3-0. Hail, hail. Hazel Finn says 3-0 as well. I say with crossed fingers. Celtic 3, Aberdeen 1. 2-0 Celtic. 4-0. Ronnie Dyla against Rangers. He was there, I'm sure. Did he play in that game? I'm trying to think back to that. I know he was in and around the squad. He might have been on the bench for that one. But he wasn't a first choice at that point as well. You got to remember when it was under Brendan Rodgers, he made his way into the team.
Yes.
He was in and out, but under Dyla, he had that initial break and then Dyla preferred other players.
I'm not aware of him playing in that game, but somebody can correct me. If he was, then that's two in a multitude, so it's not a bad record to have.
Not a bad record, yeah, you're right, completely right. 4-0 says Welsh Paul, 1-0 Celtic, and Sean Stout says 3-1 to the Hoops. There's plenty more in there. I'll try and bring up some more before we finish off the show. Where are Celtic going to win this game today if they are to win and get to the Premier Sports Cup final?
Take out that defence, Ryan, and look at those 6 players from the middle to the front. That's for Celtic to win the game today. I'm not saying the defence will have to, will be pinned back at times and be under pressure. But I like to say that you've got Alistair Johnson's looking to score 3 games in a row, Ryan. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So he's becoming a bit of a potent attacking weapon as well.
He's prolific now, isn't he?
He can do no wrong at this minute. Everything he touches turns into gold. So you're hoping if he does get forward, he produces a bit of magic again. But yeah, that 6 for me are pivotal. And I want to see Kyogo get back on the scoring horse. I know he scored against Aberdeen the 2 each game, but I said in midweek the Dundee game, he's just been doing some uncharacteristic things. But like others, Kyogo comes alive at Hampden. He has done before. He scored doubles in League Cup finals. He knows what it's like to score at Hampden. He scored in the Scottish Cup final as well. He just likes this place. Become a bit of a spiritual home, football home for him. So I just hope it brings out the best in him again. And Kuhn knows what it's like to score in the semi-final, scored in the last one against Aberdeen. The 3 each game that Celtic won in penalties. So all of that stands you in good stead. And this is tailor-made for the likes of Kuhn and Maida. And also Hatate. Hatate has produced a couple of brilliant performances at the National Stadium. I'm thinking particularly that League Cup final against Rangers when he set up Kyogo for the second of his double that day. Just, ably assisted by Aaron Moy at the time as well. But Hatate was excellent that day. So that's the kind of standard and performance I'm wanting from those guys today. And I'm hoping Engels, it rubs off on Engels as well. Because I'm not...
It's a big game for him today, isn't it? There's no 2 ways about it. It is a big game for Engels today, and he has to step up.
He has to step up and stamp his authority in this one, Ryan. Because then the questions will stop. Because then you'll turn around and say, well, he's clearly a big game player. Certain things flick his switch and float his boat. This is one of them. I just hope he grabs it by the scruff of the neck, because I've no doubt in his talent. He's a talented boy. Don't know what's happened the last few games, but the manager spent 11 million quid on him. The price tag has got nothing to do with him, because he doesn't decide that. But the Celtic fans are wanting a bit more from him, because they have no doubt in his quality. They're just wanting him to go out and actually boss a game like this, of this magnitude, and big test for him today.
He wanted to just control proceedings at Hampden, and I think that would go a long way to not silencing the doubters. I think that's a bit too harsh, but to really reinforce that point that he is the record signing, he is the player that everybody should be talking about. I still don't think that Celtic have necessarily found his best position yet. I think they play him sort of in the 8-10. I think he could potentially play in the number 6 role eventually. He seems like a player that could do with that deeper role and sort of be the metronome in the midfield. But these two, as I say before every game, basically, the 3 are fluid. They go in and out. This is the way that they do it, and they'll all be required to defend and attack respectively.
Look what he does have, Ryan. He's got height, he's got a physical presence, right? He's got a dig, and he's got a wonderful whip on crosses, and he can take a mean penalty. So he's got a lot of stuff going for him.
Yep.
Yet, in large parts of some of the games he's played so far, he's been anonymous or conspicuous by his absence. And you can't have that. That can't be, because he's a talented boy. And I think he, like everyone else, people take time to grow into the Celtic jersey, and he's maybe taking time to get, but the manager has clearly said to him, you're a footballer, go out and prove it. And I think a stage like today is something that Engels needs to just kind of rejuvenate himself and kickstart his Celtic career and get it back to the first impression that everybody had of him, because that's fallen away a bit. And I'm not doubting his talent at all, because I think the boy is a talented player and he'll be a great player for Celtic in the future. I just want to see a wee bit more now, as he's building towards that. And I'm confident that he will do that. I've no reservations about that. I don't doubt that he'll be a wonderful player for Celtic. So I just want him to do it for himself today and prove to himself.
If he does it for himself, he'll do it for the team as well. Because if he's contributing in a positive way, then all of a sudden the criticism's off his back.
Because I've said to you before,
He can make it really easy for himself, is what we're trying to say.
I said to you before, he doesn't need to impress anybody else other than the manager. So if the manager's saying to him in his ear, listen, this is what I want you to do, and if he comes off and the manager says, great, you know what I mean? Just ignore the noise.
Ignore the noise, play your own football, and that should see you through. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we head off, Tony? Is there anything else that stands out, and maybe on the starting lineup and the subs bench? Is there anything that stands out to you?
The substitutes bench, I'll be interested to see how long he gives Kyogo if it's not happening. Because, and I think Ida came on last week and looked sharp, scored a right good goal as well, took it really well. Unfortunate to leave the ground in a protected boot, you know, because of a shocking challenge, but he seems to have shrugged off the effects of that. So I'm not averse to throwing Ida on if need be, if it turns out that it's not happening for Kyogo. But as I say, that's a happy hunting ground for Kyogo. I'm hoping that he takes Kyogo off because Celtic are in a position where, you know, they're
best players for Leipzig, basically. And it's crazy to say that, but you want to get into that scenario that Celtic are going to be taking players off because the game is over. Do I think it'll be close? Yes, between the two sides. I think it will be a bit of a firestorm between the two sides. I think both teams will get goals today, but I've got confidence that Celtic can step up and even though it's a neutral venue, I just hope that Celtic treat it as like a home game because they've been here so many times previous as well. They're used to the occasion, they're used to the atmosphere. Let's see them deliver.
Yeah, I think Celtic will deliver today, Ryan. They have that uncanny knack of switching on when these games roll around. The manager does as well, and they relish these occasions, and so that's why I think Celtic will triumph 3-1 today, is my prediction.
3-1 today. Okay, I'm going to go for 4-2. I think it's going to be a bit of a cracker at Hampden. I think this is the game of the round between the four teams. I think Celtic Aberdeen, it just stands out. First v second in the Scottish Premiership. Both teams vying for a place in the League Cup. The League Cup final. It was Aberdeen that got there last season, wasn't it? They got the final. They were beaten by Rangers in the final. Celtic get beat against Kilmarnock in the first round. I think it was the third round that they get beaten, third or fourth round. It's the one title that has eluded Brendan Rodgers since he came back to the club. He'll be wanting to make the most of that. A massive thank you to everybody that's joined us before this game. 617 people before the game is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. We apologise for being a wee bit later. Number of problems on our end, but that's nothing to worry about. If you want to support us just that little bit more, you can join our YouTube members channel, which is just £2.99 a month, and receive early video access, priority comments, and exclusive members chat function. Click that join button and get involved and become a YouTube member and get all the exclusive benefits that will give you. Thank you to everybody. Thank you, Tony, for joining me. We will try and be with you as soon as we can once the game is over. Until then, enjoy the semi-final. Fingers crossed for a good result, and we will see you all after the game. Cheers, guys.